Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're looking at the question, does God condemn polygamy? Polygamy is when a man has multiple wives at the same time, and most Christians consider it a sin against God. Let's start off this video by looking at the verses that would lead to such a conclusion. For example, there is 1 Timothy chapter 3 verses 3 and 12 that says that bishops and deacons have to be the husband to one wife. The thing is here, this only refers to bishops and deacons. If a specification had to be made for them, wouldn't that mean then that the rest of the general populace can have multiple wives? I would say that this verse doesn't necessarily say that polygamy is banned. And there's also another verse that does seem to be clearer in the condemnation of polygamy, and that's Matthew chapter 19 verse 5. For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Yes, the verse says that those two will become one flesh, but that in no way stops a man from taking a third wife, and they will all be one flesh. The verse is simply saying that after you get married, you can't be divorced, as one flesh cannot be separated. As the next verse says, wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. This verse had nothing to do with how many wives you should have. Now, there is another verse that I want us to look at, and that is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 2, which says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. This would look like again that a man should only have one wife, but it doesn't really. Paul was getting at that how we should not indulge in fornication, and to prevent that, we should get married so we can have sex in the proper manner before God. Now, whether you have one wife or 5, as long as you've not committed fornication, the number really doesn't really matter. In fact, if a man is romantically and sexually attracted to another woman, it is better for him to marry that woman instead of committing fornication with her, as Paul himself said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 9. But what about the fact that God created only one woman for Adam in Genesis chapter 2 verses 18 to 22? Well, just because God created one for him doesn't mean that he's not allowed to have another. He just only needed one for reproduction. Some men don't want a wife, like Paul. Others only have one, like Zechariah. See Luke chapter 1 verse 5. Some have 4, like Jacob. See Genesis chapter 29 verses 21 to 30 and chapter 30 verses 1 to 9. And some others have 10, like David. See 2 Samuel chapter 15 verse 16. All of these people were very righteous men and close to God, despite the amount of wives they had. And if we really think about it, not only does God find nothing wrong with polygamy, he also said that he can give multiple wives as gifts. He said this to David through Nathan the prophet in 2 Samuel chapter 12 verse 8. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Polygamy, as it seems, is actually pretty fine in the sight of God. There's one last thing, though, that we must touch on, and that is that people have said, just like for war, that polygamy was a practice of old, and that things have changed. However, war and polygamy are different. While God did participate in war during Israelite times, there are many places in the Bible that say that the world will change for the better, where war will not be championed. For example, there's Isaiah chapter 2 verse 4. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. There is no such verse that talks about polygamy in that light. However, I might have missed one, so if any of you have a verse in mind that I have missed in this video, please drop it in the comments below. But with what we have gathered here today, I feel that God is quite clear on this matter. The righteous have often been polygamous, and it has never been a sin. If it was, God would have said so. And that is the end of this video. If you enjoy my content and learn something little, then I appreciate if you subscribe and hit the like button to boost my channel in the algorithm. Thank you for watching, and I'd love to see all of you soon.